Now, one of the biggest mistakes I made as a fantasy author is not having a map. When I first wrote Kingmaker, I was thinking I could probably keep it all in my head, but people are quick to point out when things don't make logical sense, especially when it comes to travel. And although I was able to finish the book and spend 3 days researching the travel distance of a horse, it would have made so much more sense if I would have had a map to go with it. Well, now that I'm most of the way writing Fury, I decided to start jumping into some map making apps. And that brings us to Inkarnate. So, is Inkarnate something that you'd like to use as a fantasy author? Now, first off, one of the things that drove me to Inkarnate was that you can create a free account. Although it is somewhat limited, it can still get you by if you're just writing a one off story. You can save up to 10 maps, you have access to like 700 assets, and it saves the files large enough to where you can import them into a 6 by 9 book without any issue. So, for those of you who just need a one off map for your book, Incarnate might be something worthwhile to check out, especially since it's free. Another thing I like about Incarnate is that it has a lot of different map styles and themes that you can use. So, like if we create a new map here, we have access to fantasy battle maps, watercolor cities. We can do battle maps, regional, and world. Now, world is the one that I've been using to create my books for or my fantasy series. But then you also have different types of layouts you can use, different graphics that go with it. So there's actually quite a bit you can handle with it, depending on your various needs. Another pro for Incarnate is how easy it is to use the system. Now, like everything, it does have a bit of a learning curve to it, depending on what you're trying to create, but the tools are fairly laid out in a simple format. So they all come with tooltips to tell you what each tool will do, and you have a variety of options that will help you create just about anything that you'd like. Unfortunately, some things are locked behind the pro paywall, so you only have access to so much. Now, like if you want to place a tree, just click on the stamp tool, find the tree you'd like, then you can put it in there. Of course, I have them set so small because I'm creating a much larger map. But then we can use the select tool, grab that guy, and we can make him bigger or smaller depending on what we're trying to create for the map. Then when you scroll out, you can see that it is much bigger than the rest of the trees. So I'm probably not going to keep that one. I'll delete it just like that. So Incarnate is pretty simple to use and pretty straightforward. Another pro for Incarnate is that it has the ability to save offline backups. You can back it up and import it at a later date should you decide something didn't work right in the original map. So, like if you created a backup and then you really screwed up how your map looks and you want it to look a different way, just load up the backup and start again. Another feature that is great in Incarnate is the scaling ability. Like I showed you with the tree, you can do that with any asset that's in our Incarnate. So you can create everything from a lavish, huge, massive map of the world to just certain sections of like if you wanted to outline Florida, you could. Or you can zoom all the way in and recreate Miami-Dade. The point is that you can scale them bigger or smaller depending on what you need. And that's kind of a cool tool, I think. Another thing you can do is you can leave notes for yourself if you want to add something later on. So if you just click on the note tool here, you see that I've already got one created, and I need the ravine from my book to be right there. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to upgrade to the paid account because I need to change the color of the backdrop so that it looks like a ravine. And then I can add another note somewhere like that, and then I can give it a title. I'll say, need the keep. We can write lore, DM notes, pretty much anything we want for that. It is HTML, so you have your different size of headers, bullet lists. I mean, you can get pretty elaborate with it. You just hit save, and now we have another note. Notes don't show up unless you're in the note tool. So if I go back to the brush tool, you see that they're gone, they're not in my way, and I don't have to worry about it. I'm not 100% sure if that's how the note tool is supposed to be used, but it helps me remember that I need certain assets at certain locations. Another feature of Incarnate that I completely am in love with is the ability to share the map in a link. Now, this is great in case you want to share your world with your readers and they can see it flesh out as you work on it. And these links can be shared in social media, on a blog post, in a button, pretty much anywhere you can use an HTML, use a address link. So what we do is we go to our options up here. We go to export as image, and then we can change the settings if we'd like. In a free version, there's only so much you can do. So we're going to hit export image. And from here, it's going to pop up the window where we can save it on our computer, but we're not going to worry about doing that. Instead, we want to share the link. And now we can add all the details we'd like to share for when people clicks on the link, which is, as you can see, I've already filled out a little bit of it. Then we just hit the publish button, and then we can copy that link and paste it pretty much anywhere. From here, we can share it on Reddit, Facebook, and Twitter. I used it in a button on Substack. I also added it as a link in the original blog post. So it's pretty cool. You can do pretty much anything. And then anybody who clicks on that map will see the newest version of it being saved. So as you're making details and you save it on a daily basis, anytime someone clicks that link, they're going to see the new updates to the map, which is kind of fun, kind of interactive. It'll help people actually see you as how you're fleshing out your world. That's as long as you don't mind giving spoiler alerts to certain areas. So that's the cool thing about the notes is that you can leave notes for parts of your book that only you can see. And lastly, you can create regional maps off your larger maps in an Inkarnate. That means you can create a big world on the highest setting that they have, and then you can create a whole new region based off of certain sections of it, and zoom in and then add more detail as you'd like. Essentially, it creates a clone of that specific region and saves it as a second map. Unfortunately, that one is also locked behind the Pro tools, so I'm not able to show it to you, but I did read quite a bit off of Incarnate's website and their Facebook post. So apparently that's how it's supposed to work. I haven't seen it, haven't done it, so. But if that's the way it works, then that has a lot of potential for zooming in on certain areas for the book and giving me some ideas, like showing specific locations of the map right before the chapter starts. Okay, so now let's take a look at some of the cons of an Inkarnate. I really couldn't find a lot wrong with the app. It runs great. It did give me a few issues about crashing when I first set up my account. Even though everything worked, it kept saying it didn't. It only did that twice. After those initial 2 times that it kind of crashed on me, everything's worked perfect. So I don't know if it was a Chrome thing or what, but Inkarnate only supports JPEG files on export. So if you need a PNG or a TIFF or something else, you're not going to be able to get it from Inkarnate. So what you can do is download the JPEG, import it into something like Photoshop or Photopea or GIMP, and then save it as a different file type. Kind of an extra step, but JPEGs are universal and they work great. I imported a map into Reedsy and it worked fine. Another drawback for some might be that's the fact that Inkarnate is not offline. This means you have to use your web browser to use it. So for some of you, it's probably not going to matter, but for me, I would rather have the application installed on my machine and have full control in case the internet goes out, because that's a problem I have all too often. But as a web-based app, it works pretty well. And lastly, kind of an obvious one, the free version is quite limited. You only get access to like 700 assets, while the Pro version gives you access to 23,700. Not to mention the fact that you can save up to 2,000 maps. You can go all the way up to 8K downloads. These are some big maps. So if Incarnate is something that you'd like to use, it might be worth the investment considering all the extras that you get, and it's only going to run you $25 a year. That is, unless you pay the $5 a month, then it gets a little bit more expensive. I'd rather pay it annually and just call it good. In fact, if you pay it annually, you get $35 off, so might as well. Now, like I said, I did import a temporary map into Reedsy just to see what it would look like, and it came out fairly nice. That's going to be a completely separate video, though, because when it comes to adding images, especially maps for a full page inside your book, takes quite a bit of formatting because you have to size everything just right. So I'm planning on creating one of those as soon as I'm ready to start formatting the book. In any case, Incarnate does have quite a bit to it. I'm really excited to give the Pro version a try. It's not that expensive. And yeah, I so wish I would have came across this before I actually wrote Kingmaker. That would have saved me so many headaches. But if you'd like to try Incarnate for yourself, I'll leave a link to the website in the description down below. It is definitely something that you might want to try and play around with. It took me about, I'd say 2 or 3 hours to get a good feel for the tool and create a river in the forest. And I've got a couple of cities set up, so I'm going to see what it looks like when I actually flesh it out. So I'm going to reread my book and then add the details to it so that I have some continuity in Fury. Anywho, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. For more videos about self-publishing, freelance writing, blogging, or anything else I cover, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. I think it's going to do it for me today. I'm going to get back to playing around with my map. I'll see you next time.